Welcome to the Vale, where the paranormal is our playground. Today we're going to do a fun facts about death.
Yeah, we're going to do
Yeah,
another fun facts about death since it's been a little bit since we've been hanging out in the studio together.
right. And
Nick has gotten busy. He's found a new kind of theater to be part of.
it's kind of a little project, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So he's been doing his show and rehearsing. And I just closed a show from stage managing over at Waukesha Civic. So we were a little busy.
Yep.
And then last week, instead of doing an episode, we talked with Sean and we were guests on his podcast,
Yes.
which is Explore Paranormal.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, do check it out. It's on our Facebook page and kind of shared there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, we said we could put it onto our page too for this part of it, so on
Yeah.
YouTube.
I think we,
So I'll have to figure that out.
yeah. But it is on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
So if you want to check that out, that was what we did last week. So while we're a little behind and missed you in the studio.
hmm We weren't in the studio last time, so
Right. We were at Waukesha.
yep.
Did a little thingy from Waukesha. So now we are going to be catching up with fun facts about dying. And I decided to look up a little something about cemeteries and what happens when they're too full.
But after we are done, if you want to stick around, we watched an interesting movie last night. Um, so we're gonna do that at the end. So if you don't want any spoilers, it's
Yes.
called The Substance.
Yes, we saw that.
So we're gonna give our opinion about that at
Yep.
the end.
Yep.
So
Trust me, it was very interesting. I can't wait to
yes.
talk about it. All right, so what I typically do when I read all this good stuff is I have notes up on the screen, and Nick's gonna laugh at me because I can't see my notes anymore.
Well,
So here we go. Gotta put the glasses on.
that is part of aging. I mean, what?
He forgets he's older than me. Anyway, so we are going to be discussing some things about cemeteries, all fun things about cemeteries. And we're discussing today about what happens when cemeteries are full. Is that something we should be worrying about here in America? Is this something that other countries have been worrying about? Because let's face it, we are all going to die.
How are they not full yet?
Believe it or not, they're not.
That makes no sense. How could they? Okay.
It's a true question that people have, and it's a true concern for the future. So, with that said,
Okay.
I'm going to say that America does or is the home to 144,000 cemeteries.
That doesn't seem like a lot for the amount of time.
I feel like it is a lot. You don't think so?
No, I don't know. Just,
Okay.
I don't know.
Now, did you know? I mean, I think you probably know because you're kind of a history person,
Mm-hmm.
but cemeteries were actually a location where people like hung out and had picnics, read books, enjoyed nature among the resting spots of didn't even have to be their loved ones, just they were in the cemetery.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, that's something we would probably do, but
Facts.
I mean, why would
That is something we would do.
Yeah.
So, because this was prior to actually having parks.
Oh.
Okay. So, excuse me. So, American visionaries borrowed European inspiration to design a new approach to burial, which is rural cemeteries. This is where the cemeteries are sprawling in landscape, country environments. They're built to replace like those grim, overcrowded religion type graveyards in town centers.
Okay.
Fun fact, another fun fact. Do you know the difference between a graveyard and a cemetery?
No, I do not.
A graveyard is actually typically smaller because it's attached to some sort of church. So it's like one of those churches that has a graveyard in their backyard.
Like when you're driving the country and you see
right. Those are graveyards versus cemeteries.
Okay, so I mean they serve the same purpose. So, yeah.
Right. And then the ones in the church, you're buried on church property,
Yes.
which did end up having like different rules to be able to be buried there.
Like you had to be a member of the church maybe or
Right. Or of that religion.
okay.
All right. So we felt that rural cemeteries were separating graves from the daily life that feel death feels a little bit more profound. So some say the distance makes the heart grow fonder. Burial visionaries hoped distance from death would make us wiser. So according to the historian Stanley French, they believe that if people spent time around the dead in beautiful natural environments, these forces would collide to impart the wisdom that the circle creation and destruction is eternal.
Okay.
Very beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, it's very poetic.
So the cemetery word is actually derived from Greek. And so this one for me is a little bit difficult for me to pronounce. So it's like cemeterium.
Yeah.
I believe if somebody out there knows Greek better than me, which is probably everybody, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's cemeterium, meaning a place to sleep.
Oh.
The hope was that this updated model would instill a sense of permanence and pride in the American landscape. And visionaries hoped at offering space for private eternal rest, a luxury previously reserved for just the upper class, to a broader population that would build patriotism in the young nation.
Oh, okay.
So cemeteries were built first it was the graveyards.
Yeah.
They could overfill fast because a
Well, they were
church only
small.
has so much property.
Right.
Um and then they kind of wanted to expand these, so they had like the landscape, the nature. And Victorian ages, we would go out to the cemetery to have picnics and just enjoy the nature around you. And yes, there might have been,
Mhm.
Aunt Flo over there and Uncle George over there,
Okay.
but it
I mean,
kind of just seemed okay.
right.
And it wasn't right there. There was a distance.
I mean, I guess with when there was the rise of spiritualism, I guess that would have been a
Sure. So, so here's the change that was coming. Um, Civil War
yep.
really saw how we had to change burial logistics. So, Civil War went from 1861 to 1865.
History
Obviously,
lesson.
history lesson also brought a ton of death with it.
Yes,
Just
it did.
huge amounts of death. And with it, they had to include how to reunite casualties with their families. So, bodies were not buried and kind of left to decompose where they fell.
Okay.
So, if you remember looking at those old Civil War movies or pictures, you see how they're like in battleground and
Mm-hmm.
battlefields. After the battle, you see them just kind of like lined up.
Right.
They would either just bury mass graves or just leave them there.
Hmm. Okay.
Families with financial means were offered the option to bring family back to them, or even come to the body and like bring it back, carriage, horse, things like that.
Hmm.
All right, so inspired by ancient Egyptian techniques, a French pharmacist invented a new embalming procedure which injected arsenic and mercury into the corpse's bloodstream. If done correctly, embalming can preserve a body long enough to get it home and in the ground. And during the war, the federal government recognized that the procedure's potential to reunite families and contracted embalming surgeons
Mm-hmm.
with various levels of training
Mm.
to provide the service.
In other words, they weren't certified, but they were provided training.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And really, that was just to try to bring the bodies back to the families before
Mm-hmm.
they started decomp,
Okay.
which can happen pretty quickly.
Right.
So, unfortunately, surgeons started kind of chasing that paycheck, and embalming workforce sort of got bigger.
Okay.
So, according to the National Museum of Civil War Medicine, embalmers pitch their tents at the edge of battlefields and hawk services to living soldiers like vultures flattening themselves out on the dead, quote unquote.
Oh,
Okay. So they're really
oh,
just kind of at the end of the battlefield going, hey, when you die, you want to be embalmed, come on over here, bring the body over here.
bring out you dead.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Okay, so we're both military.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been battlefield though. So I've never been in combat.
I wasn't either.
But can you imagine just being a soldier back in the Civil War days? So it's not even now you're looking like face to face with your rifle, bayonet on it, and you're ready to go, and you turn your head, and there's the embalming tent within eye distance.
Can you imagine having to fight and then bringing your friend
Right.
or fellow soldier that wants to be embalmed, and then but you're on the battle line?
Yeah.
Do you stop fighting and take him to get embalmed? Do you
Keep fighting and hope you live long enough to do that for your friend?
Yeah.
I would say morale killer.
And then doing that on the battlefield, embalming people, that's got to be kind of like, okay.
Yeah. Well, so began the modern funeral industry. So 40,000 bodies were embalmed in just 4 years, including Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
His corpse, I don't know if people knew this, but it traveled around the country by train, drawing all the onlookers. And the public spectacle familiarized a wider audience with the procedure, and embalmers responded to growing demand by offering more services, eventually becoming the industry we know today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you ever want to be an embalmer?
No.
I did.
No. I'm good not touching dead bodies. I'm good.
Well, that's sort of my job.
Yeah, and you can have that job.
I actually, for a long time, wanted to work in a funeral home and just embalm bodies all day. That's all I wanted to do.
Would you talk to him?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, Mr. Smith needs to be spoken to while like somebody's messing with his body. Like, I'll talk to him.
If you were doing that now, would you set up ghost equipment too when you're talking to him just to
see if he's answering? I mean, wouldn't you be interested if you passed on what they're doing with your body and kind of want to watch? No? Okay, I kind of do.
I mean, moments passed by then.
Right. Alrighty. And so, anyway, I lost my space. Sorry, guys. Glasses. All right. They're not my reading glasses, so it's still a little blurry. Quiet.
No comment.
He really wants to laugh. He really wants to laugh at me.
Who says I'm not? All right. So where were you now?
Okay. So the mounting division between the spaces of living and dead provided detrimental for both families and those who are lost.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the professor of American art and architecture, which is Keith Egger. While many cemeteries fell into neglect, citizens grew forgetful and detached from their own histories, less meaningfully and enduringly connected into the ground to which they stood. So today, many conventional funerary services include embalming in preparation for public viewing, followed by the burial in a chemically treated or metal casket, and perhaps inside a concrete vault to stave off the decomposition. Guess who can't talk today?
Decompensate. Now I can't. No, I can't. Decomp.
Yeah. Cemeteries are not the green spaces, but well manicured lawns, headstones often upright and largely identical, packed together, deprived of the native plant growth, and dotted with plastic flowers.
Okay.
So it's sort of what our cemeteries look like now.
Right, because on anniversaries, people bring
Right.
flowers to graves, or like,
But they're no longer that like rolling landscape of like
Mhm.
gorgeous nature and whatever.
Right.
Now it's like tombstones and rows.
Right,
And
instead of like in the ground.
yeah. All right. So, what do we do with the less than growing space for more to be buried? So, some will say the simple process for this is to expand, but not all areas can expand. There is either land to expand on.
Okay.
So, what about this option? Expand up.
Well, I mean, there are cemeteries that have buildings that they put them in crypts.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So, city dwellers, and this is just seen by some, city dwellers live in skyscrapers and apartments. So, why not have body plots on top of each other? They already live on top of each other.
okay.
So, idea. So, in Israel, and the Yarkon Cemetery started to add burial towers, and it can hold 25 or 250,000 graves. The tower also will respect the Jewish custom by filling the burial columns with dirt so graves are connected to the earth.
Huh.
Okay. The world's tallest cemetery is in Brazil, which contains 32 stories of graves, has a restaurant, a concert hall, gardens, and exotic birds.
I mean, people are already dying to get in there, but
So imagine like just this big
okay.
like building,
Yeah.
and it's almost like you're going to a shopping center, I guess. We're gonna go have lunch, and the graves
Well,
are just down the hall.
let's go visit Uncle Phil while we go to
Right,
go out to eat here. There's a
right.
restaurant there. We can go visit him quick.
And I don't understand the concept of the concert hall, but maybe
Maybe the dead want a concert.
like a classical music while you're visiting your aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad.
I guess.
The gardens make sense because we've
Yeah.
already had the gardens in like those really big rural cemeteries. So gardens
Mhm.
is cool. Exotic birds. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I
Is this a
mean,
zoo or okay, anyway.
okay. I mean,
But it sounds beautiful. It
yes.
does. So other vertical cemeteries can be found in Japan, Mexico, Paris, and Mumbai. So Mumbai, sorry. Mausoleums are also a typical feature where more than one body can be buried in
Yep.
like a home-like structure.
Yeah.
And can be built on top of each other. So you can have like this almost like miniature looking house and have 3 or 4 plots in there.
Right.
And then you're buried with your family in like a building house thing.
So
And then one can be built on top.
so in death, you all live in the same house again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brings a whole new meaning to the kids moving back home.
Fair. Have you ever seen a house like grave? I've seen one on a video
Mm-mm.
where there was this little girl and she like her grave is in almost like a playhouse. It has like a little porch, and then you open the door and like her grave is in there and it has a window.
Okay.
So it looks like those little playhouses that we put in backyards now.
Huh. I've not seen one.
I saw that video. I don't know where or when, but I remember looking at it and going, that is an awesome idea. Especially for a child that passed and just
Yeah.
give her a little home.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I love that. Okay. So if you don't think building upwards is the best idea, another idea is to recycle graves already there. So this can sound gross if you're used to the idea that grandpa's grave belongs to just him. But in Germany and Belgium, public
Mhm.
graves are offered for a set time, such as 15 to 30 years. And once your time is up, your family can continue to pay rent on that space, or the body can be moved down to make further room for another to be buried on top, or you can be relocated to a communal grave.
Interesting.
So the idea of like a forever and ever grave, like here is your plot, here is your grave,
Right.
this is where you'll be forever, is basically an American thing
Oh,
due to the fact that we have so much land compared to other countries. So everyone gets their own grave.
well, that works.
So in the 21st century, the death rate in the US is 2,712. I'm wrong.
2,712,630.
2,000. Thank you for the eyes. All right. That's how many people per year has died. And that's about 300 deaths an hour.
Oh,
Oh, so even with this, the crisis of burial space is a bit misleading, where America still actually has tons of space for cemeteries. However, now it's finding a cemetery near your family
okay.
that can start becoming a problem depending on where you are in the United States. So you might be able to find a cemetery that can hold your whole family and be near the people that you love to come visit you in, say, North Dakota. But
Uh-huh.
like, let's try doing that in New York City.
Right.
There's less of that opportunity.
Okay.
So it just depends on where you live and where you want to be buried.
How the land is used.
Correct. So right now, we actually have Singapore and Hong Kong in the more of the looming crisis. They are the third and fourth most densely populated countries in the world, with Singapore having 18,000 people for every square mile.
What?
Like, what? I don't like crowds, and that would drive me insane.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
And in their country right now, they only have one cemetery that still can take bodies. And that's Chua Chu Kang Cemetery.
Okay. Say that 3 times fast.
Chua Chu Kang.
Say it 3 times fast.
No. All right. So in their entire country, that is the only cemetery that can take bodies. And Singapore is so small that geographically there's no affordable open land to create anymore. So in 1998, the Singapore government passed a law stating that a person can only be buried there now for 15 years. After such, you will be cremated and stored in a mausoleum.
Oh,
So no matter what, you're being cremated.
pretty much.
Yep. So when this crisis eventually makes it to America, we may have to decide then, can grandma be moved once her body is completed with the decomposition process and make room for others? Or will cremation become widely used? Or how about buildings?
Yeah.
So just those ideas. We'll have to look into other countries and learn how that new process is. But for right now, we're actually still okay. We do not have that crisis going on. Unlike Singapore.
That is a weight off my shoulders.
Is it?
Yes.
I bet you were wondering every
I was
day.
so worried. So worried.
But it's fun to talk about.
Yes, it is.
Because what I would like, which I think would be super cute, is if I were to be buried, I would want like a little playhouse.
Would you?
Yes. Wouldn't that be adorable? Except instead of changing it or making it like a playhouse, make it a haunted house.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Would you try to scare people?
I'd be dead. So
if you were there as a spirit?
I wonder if I would even haunt my own place. That would be kind of cool.
I mean,
I would definitely have like a rocking chair on like the front porch of the haunted house.
that rocks.
Kind of like it would remind me of that grandma in the Milwaukee Public Museum.
Okay. Maybe we're gonna have to go there before, and
we have to because they're gonna close it and
move it.
Yeah. So we definitely have to go look at the streets of Milwaukee again. All right. So we actually had a lot of fun talking about cemeteries. I enjoy talking about cemeteries.
Yes.
I love seeing all the different types of grave markers and different ways that they bury bodies. And I'm a huge fan of New England graveyards.
Okay.
So when I go back there later this year, my plan is to be walking around with some graveyards from like the 1800s.
Okay.
I love it. So that's my job.
So we are going to switch gears now, though.
Oh, we want to switch gears. We want to talk about something kind of cool.
We decided, well, somebody was told she should see a certain movie.
Yes.
I've had experiences with this where I've been told I should see a movie too. Doesn't always go very well, but
It was fun.
it was interesting. So the movie was The Substance.
Thank you
And
to Kim, my sister-in-law, for seeing me this last week and going, "You have to watch it. You have to. You have to." So I did.
So which led to a what the fuck. But I digress.
So if
So
you have not seen this movie yet, you might want to skip this part of the show because
mhm.
spoiler alerts all over the place. We're going to be talking about it. So you can turn off the show now if you want or keep listening.
Now this has Demi Moore in it.
Yes. Who's
Um,
gorgeous, by the way.
yes, she has aged very well.
You said that so nicely, so politically correct.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So, and she was nominated for Best Actress
I believe so.
for this role.
I don't think she won though.
No, it can be found on places where you buy movies, to my knowledge. It's on Amazon, I know, through some streaming service, MUBI. Um, I don't.
MUBI.
Yeah.
I have never heard of that service
Yeah.
before. So if you have, cool for you, because I don't even know what that is.
But we sat and watched it last night, and
Oh
basically
my
the
gosh.
tagline for it is, and I'm gonna be looking down because I'll be reading off my phone because I don't have it up on the computer, but is, have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? You, only better in every way. You should try this new product, The Substance. It changed my life, and it changed my life is in all caps. So,
Yeah, bet it did.
it basically centers around Elizabeth
Sparkle.
Sparkle. Um, it kind of shows, it starts out by the making of her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yes.
And then it shows the process of that star losing importance, cracks getting in it, you know, people walking by spilling food on it or whatever may have, fallen on there, and just kind of decaying. Right.
Yeah.
So, and then her career, now she's like this like softcore porn fitness instructor thing where they use the sex to sell thing.
I just think it was just like a fitness instructor.
Well, the next one is kind of like
Oh
that though.
God, yeah.
But it was kind of weird in that sense. And um the producer Dennis Quaid plays him. Um
Yeah, he's the manager.
yeah, he's the manager, and
He pretty
he
much wants to replace her
he
because she's
pretty
old.
yeah, he says she's old. We need someone in their 20s. She's not selling anymore.
Right. So I mean,
And
really, the whole
so
premise of this whole movie is to replace the
the,
like critiquing of beauty standards.
right. So she ends up in an accident on her birthday, and a male nurse kind of inspects her back on like her spine and goes, "You'd be a good candidate." And
Right.
then slips this thumb drive into her pocket that says The Substance on it, and in the note it says, "It changed my life." And the video to advertise it is very vague.
Mm-hmm.
And then so she kind of ignores it, and then when she sees an ad, who's going to be the next Elizabeth Sparkle tryout audition, whatever it may be, she decides to call and do it. And this is like all cloak and dagger and like secret places, and
Right. Like you're provided an address, you're mailed a card, like a key card.
Yeah.
You go to this address, you key card in. It's very interesting concept. Almost like it's a black market drug that creates like the younger, better version of yourself.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's it really comes into play at a very interesting time in our life when
Hmm.
age and beauty standards are questioned at this
Right.
time. A lot of that new movement of like
Hmm.
love your body,
But
and
yeah.
age is really taking effect and a factor on things because even in my age,
Yes.
sir,
Ma'am.
um, it does still get looked at by those a little bit younger, even in their
Hmm.
30s
No.
or in 20s. We'll look at somebody in my age range, in my 40s, and think right away, older and ew, old. And
So
it's been hard.
so now this concept though comes with a weird caveat.
Yeah.
So you get this starter kit and you open the box and
Hmm.
there's no instructions. So we're confused at this. There's no
No instructions.
How do you even know what to do with the stuff? Where to stick the needles to inject yourself or this or that? That is not common knowledge.
Right.
So so the activation you can only do once, and then you get
Yeah.
these little food tubes that basically what happens, it makes a second you,
Yes.
but and both of you are one.
Right. So
So
you use this activator, and it's like this glowing, like 1980s, like sci-fi
yeah,
yellow color.
it
And you insert it into your arm, into your veins, because they knew
it
to do that somehow.
it looked like slime.
It did.
It did. It looked like or ooze from the turtles.
Yes.
Like it was weird.
And then you go into like this, it looks very painful.
It does.
Like you fall on the floor, you're convulsing, you're screaming, and then your back rips open
And
and out evolves like another you.
another you, and you are unconscious.
So the old you, the old both ways, the old and old
Yeah.
you is laying on the ground, completely unconscious. You're still
With
alive
with your back open.
with your back like spread open. And then the new, improved, younger you
The
comes out
right.
and then stitches your back together.
Yep.
Which again, I'm sorry, but if I just woke up out of nowhere and saw this box with a thread and needle, I wouldn't have thought to, oh, I have to stitch my back up.
Right. And then
So again, no instructions. They just know to do this stuff.
so then you've got these little cartridges that you're supposed to eject some plasma, some clear liquid out of the old you. So the
Yep.
new you ejects that out, and there's 7 cartridges because you get 7 days, and then you have to switch.
Yep. So for each day is a new cartridge. So you are feeding your old body with food,
Well, you're
some sort of
taking
serum.
right. Well, you're taking a serum out of the old body to
Right.
keep your shape,
Correct.
and but they said no exceptions, 7 days.
No exceptions.
No
None.
exceptions. So, can you guess what would happen when they say no exceptions? Can you
Well, of course.
guess?
Of course.
Of
It's
course.
human nature. Um,
So, the new her ends up getting the job that she had before. But
she becomes the new Elizabeth Sparkle, even
but
though
this
she's
is
still Elizabeth
right, but
Sparkle.
she goes by Sue.
Yeah, so she changed her name to Sue.
And then but her workout video thing is like way more erotic.
Yeah, like next level porn, like a different, like, I mean,
Like
you're still covered though, but barely.
but barely, and like it was on daytime for like workouts and stuff, and they
Yeah.
move it to nighttime because well it's so popular because I don't think it was the female crowd watching her, but that's just me.
Facts. So,
I
but the
mean,
thing is like at the seventh day, when she takes her seventh capsule and has her food, you have to switch back to the old body.
yes.
So she had to go back to the old body, which is laying on the ground at home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they do some sort of like blood transfuse thing.
And again, who knows how to do that?
Right.
Just randomly,
Right.
like, oh yeah, the needle goes right at. I couldn't even find a vein.
So they switch, and now here comes old body. So
Yep.
Demi Moore comes back from being unconscious on the floor,
Which,
and now her new improved self is laying unconscious on the
which,
floor.
which, by the way, when they are unconscious, they're laying naked.
Yeah, like
Um,
completely naked.
yeah, completely, yeah. And
I
by
don't know
this
why you
point,
can't do this without clothes on.
and at this point, there has been, mm, just- they just don't wear their clothes.
Yeah,
It
it was just natural.
it was just natural, yeah. Just
So it started off where they were switching off every 7 days, and it was kind of working out. But
but then
Demi's character, because she was still coming back into her life of being
old.
old, she didn't have her job anymore because she was
Yep.
the Elizabeth Sparkle,
Yep.
and they replaced her and got rid of her because she's old. So
Right.
she really had nothing to do for her. So for her 7 days, she was hiding out in her
And
huge condo type thing that they were living
and
in.
then she would get a note saying that her replenishment is
Yep.
there.
She'd go and get her
So
replenishment.
she would have to go get the food and the replenishment things every time.
So like she really spent 7 days doing nothing. Maybe started eating a little bit more, leaving a mess. And then the 7 day was up, and then she would go back to the bathroom and they'd have to switch out. And then here comes Sue. And Sue goes, "Ew, what's my old body doing? Like
So
it's
then
gross in
she
here."
completely remodels the house
Right?
and tears the bathroom into pieces and makes a secret room for the bodies to be in
Correct. So the
during that
body's just
time.
not like laying in the middle of the bathroom.
Right.
But the younger, improved
Mm-hmm.
version, Sue, starts getting these amazing job offers and is becoming huge. And, you know, the Vogue's or front cover
Yep.
model. And she also has an affinity for partying and sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was having a good time.
She was.
So she really she kept borrowing more time. So she would take a cartridge that was already used and go refill it and put it back into her body
Yep.
and would borrow that time away from her old self. Unfortunately, by doing that, it would disfigure a portion of the old self's body to make it look even older, like you sucked out even more age.
So the first time it happened, her fingers,
Demi Moore's finger,
was like multicolored, and you could tell it was
like a 90-year-old's finger.
Yeah.
And it was
So
like the whole part of the hand.
Yep. And then
And that was because young Demi Moore, Sue, borrowed an extra day.
Which actress was? I could find that.
The actress for Sue was Margaret Qualley.
And I don't remember. She looked familiar, but I don't remember what I seen her in.
All right, now because he said that, I'm looking it up because I have to see what she's been into. All right, so she was in Maid in 2021. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Nice Guys.
The Leftovers, Sanctuary. Poor Things. That's where I've seen her in. I saw Poor Things, which, wow. Okay, anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
Well, apparently she's in Happy Gilmore too on Netflix. So
she's in Death Note. Didn't know that. Stars at Noon. Never saw it.
But
so she's pretty well known, actually.
Right.
I saw her in Maid. I did watch that. That's where I knew her from. So anyway, so Margaret, who is Sue, plays Sue, really wanted to borrow more time. Sue wanted more time to be young and gorgeous and enjoying her life. And it might have been a party night on the seventh
Mm-hmm.
day. Well, you can't miss the party, so we're going to
Nope.
borrow an extra day.
Or one time she came in, sorry, we got a photo shoot. This is important. I'm getting the
Right.
cover of Cosmopolitan or whatever
Yeah.
magazine it was. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. So she would keep borrowing extra time.
And
And so when she would switch to the old body, Demi Moore would wake up and realize that even more of her body is
and
faded, old,
so
almost
right,
decomposing.
decomposing. Yeah.
And every time she would wake up and see that, she would realize that her old self or her new self
Is
is
stealing.
stealing more time from her.
Right. So she contemplated termination of the program.
Yep, she called the
And
hotline.
she asked if she could go back to her old self. And they said, no, whatever damage is done, but you can stop now if you want. And she just couldn't do it. Eventually, it got to the point where Sue got asked to do the New Year's ball drop thing.
Right.
And
Huge deal.
huge deal. And she was just getting more and more opportunities. She just didn't switch at all.
She went 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months. She just extracted as much as she could, and didn't realize that the host would dry up.
Right. So the old body finally got to a point where it had no more food or substance to give.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are on the night of this big New Year's Eve ball, and there was nothing left for to give. Now you're kind of wondering, like, what happens to Sue when the bodies don't switch? So if the bodies don't switch, the body that's currently living at that time, which was typically Sue,
Yep.
starts to have ringing in the ears, bleeding from the nose, and they start to decompose as well.
So she
Their
would have
body
to.
cannot survive without the host body being able to feed it.
Right. So she had to get serum when she went over from
Yep.
the host body, and once it finally dried up, so she calls whatever number was given to them for the substance.
The
And he
weird,
says,
the weird, scary voice on the
yeah, the
other
weird
end.
scary voice, and she's complaining. He's just like, you must switch. She has
You
to
have to
regenerate.
switch,
So
right?
she finally switches. Well, she has somebody living with her at the time.
Yeah, she like
So
during these 3 months that she refused to switch, she had some guy moving with her, and so like the old body, Demi Moore's body, was like just laying in this dark
yeah,
secret room,
and
just laying there.
so this dude hears what's going on and goes to the bathroom, and Demi Moore woke
Like
up, and she's
slams the door in his
like,
face.
she's bald. She's like, looks like she's past 100 at this point.
Yeah, so she went 3 months of her young self pulling time away from her, and after that 3 months is up and the body and she finally switches, Demi Moore wakes up looking terrible, like a monster.
Yeah. And then
She looked like she died and is coming back to life.
so this time she does the termination.
Correct.
And she thinks about it when she does it. She actually sticks it, but she doesn't put the full amount in. And then somehow she does a switch and they're both awake.
Okay, so this is where it got confusing
This
for
is
both
where
of
it goes
us.
totally off the rails. We have
Yeah.
no clue what.
We were
So
watching it like, okay, so both bodies are awake. They can't be
okay.
awake.
So then Sue sees the termination tube and gets pissed off and just like goes after old Demi Moore, like crippled Demi Moore.
Yeah.
And like smashes her face in mirrors and kicks her off a ledge, and holy cow, like, and basically kills
Yes.
her.
Yeah.
And
She
then
kills her and then realizes that was my host body.
so
There's no way I can continue without the host body that I just killed.
so then she goes to the New Year's thing, and
Her body is decomposing.
everything was fine till she goes to the bathroom and her teeth are falling out, her ears are falling off.
Her
All these
ears are falling off. That was weird.
So
Like of all pieces of your body falling out. I can see
so
teeth, fingernails, but her ear just
so then the solution comes up again, a better you and all this other stuff. So she does the activation kit herself. And then something else comes out of her. And this thing looked like literally like
1980s.
the Goonies. Hey, you guys.
Yes.
Like had a face on its shoulder, and that was Demi
Yes.
Moore's face. And
Yes.
um so
This
gets
movie
in
went insane.
so then she gets in the gown and goes to the New Year's thing, gets up there with Demi Moore's face plastered over hers, a paper
A
one.
paper face on hers, and it was like, I'd like
The
to thank
face
you.
and the face falls off, and everybody like goes, "It's a monster!" And then like,
And then people come and like cut it, and like
and
there's blood
and
everywhere.
at one point, like some boob comes out of the arm on a string, and like,
It's just like this big blob of
and,
mess,
and
and
at the end,
everybody's like screaming and running.
so at the end, the body is on the ground dead, except for Demi Moore's face,
Which was on the
Elizabeth
shoulder, which
Elizabeth Sparkle, and it crawls
the face crawls
falls to her star, and
and it
then
just plasters itself on it.
and just plasters itself with blood, and then it's swept up with a sweeper.
It literally went from like interesting movie, cool concept to
Like what?
1980s B-rated horror flick with like blood everywhere for no reason.
Like I was thinking Toxic Avenger and fucking like like what is going on here? So I have I don't get the point of it. Was this like
Well, I
a
did look up
duality thing?
I looked up some metaphors, okay?
Was this a duality metaphor, maybe,
Excuse me.
or?
So here is the metaphor for some of these. So they went to body horror as metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
So the film uses body horror imagery and transformation of the characters to represent the destructive nature of these pressures and consequences of trying to conform to them.
Okay.
Okay. Then they did internalized violence. The movie explores the internalized violence women face due to beauty standards and ageism, showing how these pressures can lead to self-hatred and desire to escape from one's own body.
Okay.
Feminist horror. The Substance can be seen as a feminist horror film exploring themes of female objectification, sexism, and struggle for autonomy and societal a society that often devalues women based on their appearance and age.
Okay.
And then they did The Monster as a Symbol.
Okay.
The monstrous version of the actress Sue can be interpreted as representation of the monstrous part of ourselves that we try to hide because we feel we can't adapt or fit. And then finally, the self-reflection. This film encourages self-reflection on a societal beauty standard and the pressures they put on individuals, prompting viewers to question their own values and ideals.
Okay.
So I love the metaphors. I love the ideals. Like
Right.
this makes complete sense.
But
when you're watching it and you're going, I don't understand. There's a face crawling on the sidewalk. It's
or
just
they just got a box with no instructions other than switch every 7 days.
Yep.
And the bag says switch kit. One says food kit. One says
Mhm.
activation. And there's stuff in there most people would not. I don't know. Yeah. Now, this leads me to, do you think this is possible to create perfect balance?
So I do question that. I think it was possible to have balance. So anytime that the old Elizabeth Sparkle, so Demi Moore, would become herself, she would call the hotline and go, this other clone of me is stealing days from me, is like killing parts of my body because they're stealing days. And the body would just say, you have to respect the balance. And she's like, but she's not respecting the balance. And he would respond with,
Respect the balance.
respect the balance. She is not, She is not she. You are not you. Like, you guys are together. You are one.
Yep.
You are one mind, one person. So she's not respecting the balance means you're not respecting the balance, and vice versa. So here, it's a good question we were just talking about earlier today when we were having lunch. If this was a possible project and people have decided to want to do this and have a better, younger version of themselves, do you think you can actually change back to your old body if your new body's getting all the things that you wanted in your life? The fame, the
Right.
fortune, maybe the career, the jobs, because you're younger and prettier. So, would you go back and actually honor that 7 day balance? And I have
I
to admit,
mean,
that's probably very hard to do.
I don't think that's practical.
It's
You're,
possible.
it's possible, but I don't, because, like, I guess, if you think about trying to make a living, you can't, you would be making your living 1 week and the next week you couldn't do anything.
Right. Yeah. Because she did have to tell the agency, I have to go take care of my dying mother every other week. That was mainly just her saying, I need to go back and switch my body every 7 days.
And with how she looked, Dennis Quaid had one of the best lines I think ever.
Oh gosh. What did he say?
How did he say it? Didn't he say like aging or sick mother, dead fucking cat? I don't care. We'll work with you.
He did. Yeah.
And he even went to sick fucking cat. I'll work with you. We'll do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. But I love how this movie came out in a time that even I have started going through my own like
Mm.
questionable phases. Most women do. I'm hitting my 44th birthday next week. And it's given me pause because I'm used to saying I'm in my early 40s. Now I'm going to my mid 40s. 50 is not far away. As much as it seems like it's not, it's still 6 years away, but it
Yeah.
doesn't feel far away. And I do sit and kind of feel differently about my age now than when I was 34.
Right.
But that's not an age I'd want to go back to.
No.
I actually am enjoying my 40s very much. I'm not sure how I feel about being 50. And I realize that it's coming.
Yeah.
How about you, dear?
Well,
You're a whole lot older than me. No, just kidding.
no.
She's just a year.
I mean, I don't know that it. I don't know that I want to go back to that. I've experienced that stuff.
Mhm.
So,
You good with
yeah.
mid 40s right now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I miss my younger, youthful looking self.
Mm,
I do. I do. And I'm sure a lot of women do. But I'm not saying that I'm not happy with the way I look. No, I'm just
so,
older.
on a 1 to 10, what would you give this? Just a
What
rating
kind
of
of
a
scale?
movie.
Are we doing like we'll watch again weirdness scale? Are we doing like horror scale? Like what kind of scale are we
Just
doing?
as a movie, it's something you were interested in. Would you watch this again? 1 to
Oh,
10.
absolutely.
Where is your like how much you enjoyed it?
I'm gonna go like 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. The only reason why it knocked down to a 9 is because I really struggled getting past the monster and the
I'm
crawling face.
I'm gonna go an 8 out of 10 because
Okay.
the end really threw me. But I mean, Demi Moore looked pretty good.
Oh my goodness. Here we go. Well, it was a fun movie, and I'm glad we got to talk
Yes.
about it. Hopefully, those who stayed back and listened, we didn't spoil it
Two.
terribly. I mean, we told the whole movie pretty much.
Hopefully you had watched it already then at this
Right.
point, or you weren't gonna watch it and you were just curious.
Right. And I will say that right after the movie was over, I did text my sister-in-law. I was like, WTF, did you just have me watch?
Yes, I asked, what did you just tell me to put on? So
Well, it was a good time. We still had fun.
yes, but so
It's not like he has nothing better to do.
I mean, I didn't have my daughter, so yeah, might as well. Um, but
He had a free Saturday night, so if he's got a free Saturday night, I'm gonna make him watch all the weird movies. That's what
okay,
friends are for.
yeah, yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining us.
Hmm.
I hope you enjoyed this. Facts about cemeteries and this little kind of just fun conversation about a movie.
Fun movies.
So if you like this, please subscribe and you will get notifications for new episodes. And thank you for watching and listening.
Good week. See you next week.